you to my colleague Larry Schooler. Larry's been with the City of Austin for more than 10 years. When you hear him talk, you'll notice that he has a perfect voice for the radio, where he's also spent part of his career. He's the father of 2 adorable young boys and a dedicated husband. He loves to watch sports and talk about sports. And he's devoted to his faith and very active within his synagogue. It's been a pleasure working with Larry on this project, and I've just learned so much from him about the need to hear voices in the community, how to really handle concerns and conflict. And I am just incredibly inspired by his passion for this and his talent.
Merci beaucoup. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Julie Smith. She is a native of West Virginia, which is a very interesting place that split away from Virginia because of differences about slavery many years ago. She studied at Elon and Vanderbilt colleges, and she came to Austin to work for a group called Leadership Austin, which is an NGO, a nonprofit, that serves to convene important conversations in Austin, as well as to train future leaders. And one of the things that I have really learned from Julie is how important it is to create a space where everyone feels comfortable to participate, and how difficult that can be, and how important the words are that we choose to frame a conversation so that everyone will feel like, I can say what I want to say and not worry that someone will treat me in a way I don't like. When we talk about Conversation Corps, I wanted to ask you, first of all, why this program was something that you wanted to work on in the first place.
Yes, saying yes to Conversation Corps was easy both for me and for Leadership Austin as an organization. With my background in training and leadership development, to be asked to train volunteers to go out and have dialogue was an easy yeah. I want to do that. Combined with my passion for helping people become the leaders they want to be and live in the community they want to live in, to my value in connection and helping people make connections between the things they're passionate about with other people. There are so many things that were in alignment with this project and the community that I want to live in, and the expertise that me and my organization bring. So it was an easy yes when the City of Austin said, Leadership Austin, will you be a part of this? From the beginning, the vision for it was so clear as well, and that really came from you. You know, this was your brainchild.
My harebrained crazy ideas in the middle of the night. Well, for me, because I work on engagement for the municipality of Austin, we have almost 1 million people living in Austin. It is impossible to have a meeting where everyone who is interested will come. It is impossible. So we must train our citizens to become facilitators and then visit cafes and schools and houses of worship so that they can actually go where people are already having the conversation, because they're already chit-chatting, they're already talking about these topics that we want to talk to them about. They just don't want to come all the way to the Hotel de Ville, the city hall, to be inconvenienced in that way. They also might be intimidated by this large group. So I thought, let's get people to join our Conversation Corps, and we will multiply our forces for participatory democracy. We will make it so that it's not a matter of whether it's too far away or whether there are too many people. You will be in a small conversation in a familiar place that's familiar to you in your neighborhood, and be able to talk about things that really matter in the community. Now, you were the one that came up with the kind of the structure for how we do the conversation. Can you explain that to the group?
Yeah, sure. So to your point about creating safe spaces, we put a lot of thought into how do we bring people together in not only a comfortable, convenient, accessible place, but when they're there together, how do we really ensure that they connect with one another? So building in storytelling and letting people really understand the stories of other people and taking those stories on almost as their own, and so that when they start to think about what community do I want to live in, it's not just about my perspective, it's about representing what my neighbors need and what the people across town need, and really kind of owning the story of the city. And being, we wanted to make sure that the conversation was structured in a way that people kind of had these aha moments of, wow, I never thought about that before. So bringing different perspectives together, so when someone leaves the conversation, not only do they feel heard by the people that are there at the conversation, they know they're going to be heard by the policymakers who the conversations are going to be connected to, but they might think a little bit differently about the topic that they're talking about.
And I know you made a special point of having one round of the conversation be uninterrupted. Like, you get to talk, and then I get to talk, and then you get to talk, without crosstalk. And that really gives everybody a meaningful chance to have a voice, even if they're not very outgoing. They might be shy or something.
Absolutely, and we make sure that our facilitators set that up so people know everyone's going to have a chance to participate and share their thoughts, their stories, and then we're going to connect, and we train our facilitators to encourage the group to really lean in with curiosity, instead of trying to continue to make their own point, to say, tell me more about that, I don't understand it, I disagree, and I want to know more. And that interaction round is really where we get to kind of the meat of what Conversation Core is about.
Well, speaking of disagreement, perhaps you and I can show the audience what it's like to have we would say, an agreeable disagreement, to talk about a topic where we don't start, getting rough, but we can still have different perspectives.
All right, what should we talk about?
Well, I think even though people probably have not come to Austin and they think we are all on horses and, have cows everywhere, I think I would like to know what you think Austin most urgently needs to address. What is our biggest challenge?
For the people who don't know, Austin is such a fast-growing city, and people are looking at Austin and moving to Austin very quickly. It's a great place for a lot of people, but we were recently named the most socioeconomically divided city in America. And that's not okay with me, and I know it's not okay with a lot of people, so I think that is the thing that we all need to be focused on the most, is that divide.
Well, let me tell you, I have been in Montreal now for 3 days, and I love that I can go where I want to go without driving. And in Austin, that is impossible. It is impossible. There are too few buses, there are too few trains, there are too few bicycle lanes and bicycles available. And so I think that actually contributes something to your concern about socioeconomic segregation, because the people who live far out, they cannot get the bus, so they have to spend more money on transportation, which makes them harder to make ends meet. So I think the two are interrelated, but if I had to choose one, I would say mobility, first and foremost.
I understand where you're coming from. I also think that if we can take this lens of inclusion and making sure that we're less divided in all of these issues, then we'll really get to some solutions that make sense.
Well, and I had never thought about my issue in terms of your issue, so I think it's helpful to hear your perspective, because it does actually correlate a lot with what I'm saying, even though on the surface it seems like two completely different things. So that's kind of the benefit to this Conversation Core. It creates an army, you might say. We would say Corps like Peace Corps or military corps, Marine Corps, but it creates an army of people to bring about civil dialogue on issues that matter in places that they know and like. And I'm very proud that you've been a partner in this effort, and I look forward to not just training the 125 members we have now, but to greater and greater successes in the future.